Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the C-Man, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down. I tell you, man, what a crazy year 2021 has been, right? I mean, mix it in with 2020 and just the overall pandemic situation, just nuts. But if you're a Zack Snyder fan, what a year 2021 has been, right? You wait and hope and pray for years that you're going to get the Snyder Cut. And in 2021, we get it on HBO Max. But not just that, we get the first original written and directed by Zack Snyder movie in forever, just a few months after, over on Netflix. And it's Zack going back to the world of zombies where he started, man. And I tell you, I've said it in everything that I've done that's mentioned this movie. When it came to Dawn of the Dead, I mean, you're talking about one of my all-time favorite zombie movies. What Snyder did with that film was just, it was wonderful, and was back at the kind of beginning of this zombie boom before it was what we lived and breathed in the world of horror. So much zombie content, but back then, Zack was one of the first people bringing zombies back, and bringing them in a really, really terrifying way. And to see him go back to that all these years later, I mean, almost 20 years, but 17 years after that one. Oh, it was so cool to see what he brings to the genre this time, and he is upping the ante. If you can't tell, you'll see, man, dug this movie. What are we talking about? Why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat, we're getting ready to dive in, spoiler-free, into Army of the Dead. And yes, like I said, this is Zack Snyder going back to zombies and just proving that zombies are his bread and butter, man. He really thrives in the world of zombie horror. And like I said, when he did Dawn of the Dead, it was kind of at the beginnings of that comeback, that rebirth of zombies. And, a lot of what he did with those zombie movies, you kind of saw in stuff that came after. And now you flash forward, and he's back, and he's up in the ante, man. He's bringing something different. And the concept of having a world with two types of zombies, right? You got your regular old shamblers, which are what you see in normal zombie movies. They kind of move slow, and they're just, all they can think about are brains and eating flesh. But then he introduces the alpha. And there's a bunch of alphas, and there's a king alpha, right? If you get bit by the king alpha, you become an alpha, and those zombies are fast as... they are so fast, and the way they move, the way they can coordinate, they can't speak, but they can understand each other. It's what when you see Army of the Dead, there is a legit army that can take orders and do things, and to have an alpha male and an alpha female kind of running this world of zombies while you have all of these shamblers who are just your regular brain dead zombies wandering around. It was awesome because it gave you all the things you look for in a zombie movie. I mean, the action in this movie, shocking. Zack Snyder movie, the action is spectacular. I mean, there is a sequence where one of our characters, played by Samantha Wynn Chambers, she kind of gets separated and is in a room with all these kind of sleeping shamblers. And you get to watch her do some crazy stuff because the shamblers really are ultra slow and ultra stupid. You can push them around, they just kind of and then to see something like that gives you a wild action sequence, and then fast forward 5-10 minutes later, you're in a tight room with an alpha that's bouncing off the walls and moving and dodging and it's avoiding bullet shots and knife and dagger throw. It's awesome, and the action throughout the entire film is insane. I mean, there is, when the action is pumping, it is fantastic. If you're a fan of zombie movies or just zombie media, you get some really, really cool stuff, and oh, good God, the amount of blood. It's funny, I just watched Yasuke, the new Netflix anime series. You can actually see my thoughts on it right up there. But like when I was watching it, I like dove back into Castlevania, and just looking at some of the anime, or even like watching something like Invincible. You kind of sit there and you're like, man, you can't like always do the level of violence or gore that you can do in like an animated film in real life. And I swear to God, Zack Snyder is trying to disprove that theory, man. The blood in this movie is crazy, and just the gore in general, whether it's brains or insides or just what have you. Like, it's if you're here for gore and that type of action, oh, you are gonna be so happy with this freaking movie. But it's also like just an interesting concept of how to utilize zombies, right? Like, I like that the movie shows you, spoilers, how the outbreak starts, and that the outbreak is legitimately confined just to Las Vegas. I mean, they literally seal off the city, and that's just where all the zombies are. And the concept of the movie is you have, the president okaying a nuclear warhead strike, like a small nuke, just to wipe out Vegas and get rid of, this zombie threat. And because of that, you have people who are looking to capitalize. Specifically, Hiroyuki Sanada, a.k.a. Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. He's in it here. He's kind of like this big businessman, and he knows that one of the, hotel casinos has a vault that's got like over $100 million in it, and he hires up, Dave Bautista's character, Scott Ward, to kind of round up a troop of folks to go in there and get it before this nuke hits and then get out. And I was a little thrown off at how easy it was to get into the city and to get into what they were doing. And the movie does drag a little bit in those early stages of Vegas as you're just kind of like getting it going, because there's rules. There are rules and regulations in this new Las Vegas with all these zombies, and because of that, there's kind of like a section of like peace where there's not like chaos going on. But once that Band-Aid gets ripped off and you get to dive into it, oh man, the second half of this movie is so freaking good, man. Like, it is just everything you would want in a zombie film. And Snyder just delivers action like you haven't seen with zombies. He delivers zombies like you haven't seen. And like I said, the way they interact with each other and can understand and are kind of cognizant of things that are going on. Mixed in with the Shamblers, who, like, if they're in the sun too long, they just turn into full-on corpses. But if it rains a little bit, they come back to life. Like, there's a whole world and structure. And I think Snyder does a really good job of establishing it. And building out this like one-off kind of story in Las Vegas. That's just a lot of fun to go back to, and the way that the visual effects work and just the look and feel of the movie, like, it's just wonderful to watch. Like, you can just sit back and just enjoy it the entire time, and the cast is absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm not saying that he's winning any awards for this movie, but Dave Bautista just continues to impress me, and every time I see him in something, I'm like, there's a supporting actor win in there somewhere, man. Like, not a guy I would have expected it from, but since Guardians, he's really kind of honed in on this acting gig, and he's getting really good at it. And Scott Ward is a fun character to be around, you see him and this group kind of at the beginnings and the throes of what's going on in Las Vegas, and then he kind of has to go and re-rally the troops to go back in, and to see how they respond initially, to then see how they respond inside the second time. Like, it's just a lot of fun to watch, and Bautista is able to deliver on the acting and the story stuff, and he has the most story beats because his daughter, played by Ella Purnell, is in the movie. So there's, a deeper bond and connection with those two characters more than anyone else in the movie. And he carries all that stuff, and he delivers. He delivers on the action, always, Bautista, man. He's got some nice choreography. There was one moment where he like hops up onto it's either like a roulette or a blackjack table, and it is so smooth. I rewound it twice. I was like, that was so clean, and I just love stuff like that. And Bautista certainly came to bring it. He carries the movie quite well. Like, he can be a lead in an action movie, which again, for me, having grown up watching him in the WWE first, something I never saw coming, and I'm so excited to see what he does next. You got Knives Out 2 coming. Just so many wonderful things that he crushes here, and the whole cast really does. I enjoyed this cast start to finish. I mean, everybody that participates. Ella Purnell, while there, I think, are some problems around her story in particular. It's one of those, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's one of those things where it's like, she's got stuff going on. It's like, if that stuff wasn't going on, things might be a little bit easier for what's happening in the movie. It's just like, I don't want to dislike you, but like, you're pulling away from what's going, you know what I mean? And not that she does anything bad performance-wise, but her story I just didn't think worked the best out of the characters that were there. But Purnell does a really wonderful job, and she has some really wonderful moments with Batista on screen. Amari Hardwick, I freaking love this dude, man. There is a stretch in the movie where he's just going up and down in an elevator, and just him standing in the elevator and watching it close and then watching it open and like him doing what he's doing is just so wonderful. And him and Batista both, best shape I've ever seen either one of these dudes, man. Hardwick is... and Batista both, like, they are ripped. There is no like it is just rock chiseled jacked dudes, man. And Hardwick, I enjoyed him, you know, in Power, and I've enjoyed him anytime he kind of pops up in things. And here, he gets to have a lot more fun than even I'm used to watching Hardwick have, man. Whether it's taking on the zombies, he has a really dope action sequence, kind of little fight sequence with some of the zombies, as does Batista. I mean, like I said, both of them really crush on the choreography stuff. But he also has this wonderful relationship with the guy who's got to break the safe, Dieter, who's played by Matthias, I'm going to get this wrong, Schweighofer. Definitely butchered that last name. But Matthias is Dieter. He's not equipped to really fight zombies, and him and Hardwick kind of develop a bond. And in all honesty, like, I think Matthias probably would have been semi-forgettable, but he really does capitalize on the screen time that he has, and when he is with Hardwick, there's just some wonderful moments. Like, they create a really dope bond, and it's fun to watch that on screen. And Hardwick, in general, his story, really fascinating, and I love where it goes. Like, there's some cool stuff with Hardwick. And like I said, I think Matthias Schweighofer does a really nice job with Dieter, adding like a little bit of flavor here and there. And speaking of adding flavor, oh, good golly, Miss Molly Tig Notaro. Laugh your ass off every time she's on screen, man. Like, it felt like it was one of these things where it's like, hey, Tig, we got a loose script for your character, and like, here's how we want to get you in and out of places, but then you just bring your flair to it, man. And it's wonderful. Like, Tig is, you know, responsible for a helicopter in the movie. She's a pilot, so she's kind of separated from most of the action, so you're able to go to her for these nice little beats to kind of break everything up. And honest to God, every time she opens her mouth, I was dying. Like, she just flat out crushed it. Whether that takes you out of the movie and is something that you don't enjoy, that I think is up to each individual. It didn't bother me any, and like I said, I just thoroughly enjoyed how much fun she and everybody in this movie are having. And this cast is just so freaking massive. We could talk about so many people. I mean, you got Ana de la Reguera, who plays Maria Cruz, who's kind of really close to Batista's character, as one of the first people that he does recruit for this. She does a really nice job. Theo Rossi, right outside of Vegas, is like a quarantine zone, and he's a cop there. And Snyder certainly had some commentary on police, or at least police that are not good police. And Rossi plays a really terrible cop. And where his story goes and how he functions into the movie and what happens, thoroughly enjoyable. Like, Zack Snyder teed you up with a character that you despise pretty quick, and then every time you see him on screen after that, it's kind of enjoyable to watch what's happening. But, you know, Rossi, I thought, did a nice job. Nora Arnezetter, definitely said that one wrong too, but she plays the Coyote. She is the person who can get people in and out of Las Vegas, and a lot of the quarantiners she helps get in to like small casinos where they can break into like the slot machines to get money to get out of the quarantine zone. And she does a wonderful job. I dig her character, what's going on with her character, how it ties in Garrett Dillahunt's character Martin. I really dug. It's just every time she was on screen, I personally couldn't help but go, kind of wish that was Maggie Grace. Like, they have similar features, and several times I was like, man, like, Maggie Grace, I would like that. That would have been a nice name to have there. But like I said, Nora Arnezetter does just a fine job with what she's given. Garrett Dillahunt too. Like I said, I like what he brings. He works for Sonata directly, so that story is one of those like I gotta keep an eye on this guy. Like what's going on with him, and there's some cool stuff, and he sets up some things that are pretty nice for some of our characters. As I mentioned, Samantha Wynn, who plays Chambers, has a really dope action sequence. She holds her own. She brings a lot of flavor and energy to the movie, along with Raul Castillo, who plays Mikey Guzman Goose. They're kind of like these social media people who like Goose can like spoilers, but like his big thing is that he shoots one bullet and can take out multiple zombies. So they kind of bring him in to help because he is familiar with zombies. He understands the shamblers and the alphas, and them together are a lot of fun. And that story is interesting. Like what happens around those two stories. Again, something that I thoroughly enjoyed, and just really enjoyed everybody who shows up in this thing. And then you've got your zombies, and you have he is listed in the credits as Zeus, and you can kind of see why he gets the Zeus because of something he sees outside of the Olympus, which is where he sets up base. But he is your alpha, played by Richard Strone. Fantastic job, man. He is scary. Like every time he shows up, he's scary, and the Zeus character is really cool. Like being the overall leader of these zombies, and what he brings to it. Like he's got elements to his character visually that are awesome, but are also practical to his character in the movie. And I just thought Citrone did a wonderful job with, just giving more atmosphere to everything. And the atmosphere and the production design and just all the elements that go around what you're visually seeing is wonderful. And having Citrone be the leader of these zombies really sets a tone. And then, fitting actor name here, man, Athena Parampil, who plays the Alpha Queen. You want to talk about atmospheric and just visually stunning every time she's on screen. She's amazing. Like, the Alpha Queen is probably my favorite zombie in the movie. The way that she moves, the way that she stalks, the way that she screams and calls, the way the zombies communicate to each other, even though they can't speak, is really, really interesting. And the bond that she has with Zeus, I just love. Like, the whole concept of the two of them and what's going on with their story. Like, they have a story inside of the movie, and all of that stuff was just really, really interesting. And the zombies, like I said, are just freaking awesome. And if you're a fan of zombies and zombie movies, you should really enjoy the living heck out of Army of the Dead. For me, like I said, a little bit of a hiccup pacing-wise in the middle. It's a little slow when you're first getting into Vegas, but once stuff starts to go down in Vegas, and like the opening of the movie, like how you get to Vegas, how all of it happens, and how our initial group gets out the first time, spectacular. And then once you go back in and like things start going down, like just phenomenal stuff. Like if you're a fan of zombie film, I really think you should enjoy this movie. And in talking about enjoying the movie, well, how much did the C-Man enjoy the movie? Let's get the old C-Maniac meter up on the screen. There it is. And like I said, outside of a little bit of a pacing hiccup in the middle, this thing hits on the action, on the set and production design. Obviously, the cinematography is amazing. The acting is great. And the story is really interesting. And when you get down to it, the old C-Man is going with 4.5 C-Maniacs out of 5. I really, really dug this. Like, if I was going to have a 5, it would be Dawn of the Dead. And if I was going to have a 4.5, it would be this movie. I had an absolute blast. And that little hiccup in the middle where it kind of slowed down a little bit and you kind of dug in a little bit more on story and world building didn't really bother me too much. And the rest of the movie, like I said, I was sitting here just after the movie going like, that was nuts. And then they did that and that was crazy. And I really love, like, it's just a lot of love for me in this movie as a zombie fan. There's some cool stuff and I really look forward to going back to this world. We've already got, I believe, an anime or at least an animated series in the works that's going to have something to do on Snyder's IMDb. I think it's called Army of the Dead: Lost Vegas, and it's going to be an animated feature with Jay Olivia, who's going to be the creator on that one. So it feels like you could go back to this world. You can already see they're starting to build out some stuff. So I hope we get to go back to this world with Zack Snyder because I had an absolute blast and I would love to go back to the world of Army of the Dead. The question is, what'd you think, man? Did you wake up this morning, pop this on Netflix? You a fan of zombie films? Are you a fan of Dawn of the Dead? How does this rank up for you as far as Snyder in the world of zombies? You know, if you look at it next to side by side, I think he's brought a lot of new stuff to the world every time he dives into it, and I love that stuff. So does that work for you? Did you dig the alpha zombies versus, you know, the Shamblers? Interesting concept there. The idea of a heist movie inside of a zombie film, like, what a cool concept, right? Did that stuff work for you? What'd you think about the performances? Anything, good, bad, indifferent about Army of the Dead? If you've seen it, goes down below in the comments. If you haven't, have we enticed you? Are you gonna check it out? Is it on the watch list? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the old C-Man anytime we're talking movies, TV, trailer reactions, you want to show a little love, support, want to just be around more C-Man content, well, you can do that by joining C-Maniac Nation, jumping over there, hitting that subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts, and until next time, go to C-Man's Cinema, sit down. I've been the C-Man, and I am signing off. Peace! Oh, hey, what's going on? You must be sticking around because you're looking for more content featuring this guy. Well, guess what? You're in the right place. You can check out more videos right here and right here. And if you have and you want to come join that C-Maniac Nation, you can hit that subscribe right over there.